Static on the shortwave, crackle in the crossfade. Johnny's in the Batcave, scrolling through the downgrade. I'm on the new page, torching all the old lores. Zimmerman whispering, kid, you walked this road before. Boss with the paste up, marks up, right up. Says he's got a clean crop, but the label fell off. Look out, kid, they're spinning what you hit. Last week's glitch, now a better. I ain't gonna eat up Monsanto's first no more.
Chapter 19. Immigration and Social Policy. Migration as Rebellion, Resonance, and Renewal. The electric guitar once shattered silence, its distortion a declaration of defiance. In the same way, migration is not merely movement, it is a refusal. A refusal of imposed borders, exclusionary policies, and inherited limits. Like sound crossing airwaves, people cross boundaries, bringing rhythm, memory, and improvisation. But who gets heard? Who gets silenced? And what harmonies emerge when cultures collide? Immigration is often framed as a problem to be managed, but in truth, it is a symphonic necessity. Every society, like every orchestra, requires new blood, fresh talent, unfamiliar scales, and unexpected cadences. This infusion mirrors genetic drift in biology. Small, random changes that diversify a population and increase its adaptive potential. Migrants bring not only labor, but cultural capital, linguistic nuance, and alternative ways of knowing. They spice up the ensemble, expanding the repertoire. Yet, as in any composition, balance matters. If the ensemble becomes too diluted, if memory of the venue, mastery of the score, and familiarity with the rhythm are lost, then the music falters. The danger is not diversity, but disconnection, when social cohesion erodes and shared meaning fragments. As Emile Durkheim argued, societies depend on a shared moral framework and division of labor to maintain solidarity. Migration challenges this framework not by erasing it, but by inviting reinterpretation. Governments play a pivotal role in this orchestration. Citizenship policies, labor laws, and border enforcement shape who gets to play, who gets to stay, and, honestly, who remains unheard. The political economy of migration reveals how capital often welcomes bodies but not voices, valuing productivity over personhood. As Max Weber observed, citizenship is not just legal status, but a form of social honor, shaped by access to power and recognition. Migrants may be economically essential, yet socially peripheral. Karl Marx would frame this tension as a contradiction within capitalist production. Migrants are absorbed as labor power, but denied full participation in the ideological and political superstructure. Their presence exposes the gap between economic necessity and civic recognition, where the state enforces borders not only physically but symbolically, preserving dominant narratives while extracting surplus value. As sociologist Alejandro Portes warns, assimilation without integration leads to alienation, and as Saskia Sassen notes, global cities thrive on migrant labor while denying migrants full civic participation. The result is a dissonance between economic inclusion and social exclusion. How do immigration policies shape national identities? What are the political and economic effects of immigration? How do governments manage migration crises? In our interconnected world, the influence of media on social movements has never been greater. Misinformation spreads rapidly, shaping opinions and fueling collective action, but also confusion. Understanding how media narratives are constructed is, well, essential for anyone hoping to make sense of today's social landscape.
The first wisdom of sociology is this: things are not what they seem.
As Peter Berger reminds us, the sociological perspective invites us to see the familiar in the strange and the strange in the familiar. In today's media-saturated landscape, this wisdom is more urgent than ever. Media does not merely reflect reality, it constructs it. Through framing, repetition, and selective amplification, media shapes what society sees, and often what it ignores. Social issues are filtered through algorithms, headlines, and hashtags, creating echo chambers where dissent may rise, but clarity may fall. Resistance, once raw and communal, is often co-opted by commercial platforms or diluted by performative activism. Truth becomes debatable, not through reasoned discourse, but through viral distortion. As Stanley Cohen warned, moral panics and media amplification can turn folk devils into scapegoats, obscuring structural causes. Consider the commodification of justice. When movements are measured by fundraising totals rather than systemic outcomes, distortion deepens. A $60 million donation may signal support, but without transparent stewardship, it risks becoming a monument to misdirection. In such cases, money masquerades as meaning, and visibility replaces accountability. Yet amid this distortion, some movements still resist commodification. Mutual aid networks, land-back initiatives, and cooperative economies reclaim the rhythm of collective care. These efforts do not seek virality, they seek vitality. They remix solidarity and sustainability, reminding us that abundance is not a number but a practice. Group topic: Information and social change. Why does this topic matter? Well, how does algorithmic manipulation and surveillance capitalism contribute to the erosion of shared truth? It's important to examine the societal impact of media platforms that distort perception and polarize or suppress public discourse. This highlights the role of digital infrastructure in reinforcing ideological divides. Music, really acts as a sonic manifesto against media distortion and systemic oppression. It demonstrates how artistic expression can mobilize dissent and, challenge dominant narratives. Here, we touch on media framing, misinformation, social movements, digital activism, and of course the importance of discernment. Sonic dissent and media distortion are deeply intertwined. Tom MacDonald's The Devil is a Democrat from 2025 and Me vs. You from 2024 are more than just controversial rap tracks. They're cultural artifacts that, honestly, expose the emotional architecture of ideological warfare. Through rhyme, repetition, and rhetorical provocation, MacDonald critiques media manipulation, political hypocrisy, and the kind of tribalism that fractures public discourse. These songs don't just reflect dissent, they really embody it. They weaponize rhythm to challenge dominant narratives, offering a pretty raw lens into how media shapes perception, fuels division, and distorts truth. MacDonald's lyrics illustrate media as a framing device, selective, emotional, and often polarizing. In The Devil is a Democrat, he claims, this line suggests that media doesn't just report, it constructs reality. It amplifies fear, curates outrage, and reinforces ideological binaries. Sociologically, This aligns with Stuart Hall's encoding and decoding model, where media messages are shaped by power and interpreted through cultural filters. In Me versus You, MacDonald critiques the emotional manipulation embedded in media narratives. This lyric, honestly, captures the essence of moral panic and media polarization. You know, misinformation doesn't just mislead, it divides. It erodes trust, inflames identity politics, and, well, replaces nuance with tribal loyalty. The consequence is a public sphere, where dissent becomes spectacle, and truth becomes, subjective. While MacDonald critiques media distortion, his own platform, in many ways, exemplifies digital dissent. His viral reach, independent production, and direct-to-audience model really reflect how artists and activists can bypass traditional gatekeepers. Social movements like Me Too, they also use digital platforms to amplify marginalized voices, mobilize support, and challenge institutional narratives. Yet, as MacDonald's work shows, digital platforms also amplify ideological extremism, creating echo chambers where dissent is monetized and, honestly, mobilization can blur into manipulation. This is really the heart of the tension. MacDonald's dissent is loud, provocative, and emotionally charged. But is it transformative? Or, just performative? Progress with pluralism demands that dissent honor complexity, not flatten it. When dissent becomes spectacle, stripped of nuance, empathy, or solution, it risks becoming just noise. But when it invites reflection, challenges power, and opens dialogue, it becomes praxis. Tom MacDonald's The Devil is a Democrat and Me versus You are not just songs. They're in fact sonic manifestos that confront the machinery of media, politics, and public perception. Through incendiary lyrics and unapologetic delivery, MacDonald positions himself as both critic and provocateur, challenging listeners to interrogate the narratives they consume and the ideologies they inherit. In The Devil is a Democrat, MacDonald paints liberal politics as a facade for chaos, accusing media outlets of orchestrating moral decay and cultural engineering.
The propaganda is on every channel. They want war, they don't want peace, they want fentanyl in our streets.
It doesn't merely indict, it dramatizes. It suggests that media is not a neutral observer, but an active participant in shaping public consciousness. This really aligns with sociological theories of media framing, where the selection and repetition of certain images, stories, and language constructs a version of reality that serves, specific interests. Media, in this view, doesn't just reflect social issues, it manufactures them, often through emotional manipulation and ideological packaging.
They put you on the left, they put you on the right. They tell you what to hate, then they tell you who to fight.
This captures the essence of tribalism in the digital age. Here, MacDonald exposes how media doesn't just inform, it divides. By assigning labels and scripting conflict, it transforms citizens into combatants, eroding the possibility of dialogue or nuance. The consequences of such misinformation are, honestly, profound. It breeds distrust, inflames identity politics, and reduces complex social issues to binary choices. In this landscape, truth becomes subjective, and dissent risks becoming spectacle. Yet MacDonald's own platform complicates this critique. As an independent artist with viral reach, he really exemplifies how digital media can be weaponized for dissent. Like social movements that have used hashtags and live streams to mobilize support, Black Lives Matter, Shuck Me Too, and others, McDonald bypasses traditional gatekeepers to speak directly to his audience. His success underscores the power of digital platforms to amplify marginalized or contrarian voices. But it also raises questions about the nature of dissent in the attention economy. When does dissent catalyze progress, and when does it just become noise? This tension is central to understanding MacDonald's work. His lyrics provoke, polarize, and perform. But do they transform? Sociologically, dissent becomes meaningful when it invites reflection, challenges power, and opens space for pluralism. When it merely reinforces division or monetizes outrage, it risks becoming another form of manipulation. MacDonald's tracks, then, serve as case studies in both the potential and peril of dissent in a media-saturated world. This exemplifies the battle over truth is not just fought in legislatures or classrooms, it's waged in lyrics, headlines, and hashtags. And in that war, rhythm and rhyme can be weapons, but also mirrors. This ends SOC 102. We began with rhythm. In SOC 101, we tuned our ears to the pulse of society, its structures, norms, and orchestrated roles. We learned that sociology is not just a study of systems, but a symphony of interactions. Each week was a movement, from the overture of socialization to the crescendo of collective behavior. We asked, what is society, and how do we find ourselves within it? Then came resonance. SOC 102 pulled us deeper into the dissonance, poverty, injustice, exclusion, and reform. We traced the fault lines of inequality and listened for the silenced notes. Through media, myth, and movement, we explored how social problems are not just observed but felt. We asked, how do we change the tune? Now, we descend. SOC 103 begins not with answers, but with descent, into identity, power, and myth. This is the underworld journey, the spiral into race, class, and gender. We will not merely analyze systems, we will inhabit them. Through gospel, protest soul, hip-hop, and folk, we will hear the voices that history tried to mute. Through films like Encanto, Moonlight, and Soul, we will witness the mythic arcs of visibility, exile, and rebirth. We ask, who gets to belong? Who holds the microphone? What rhythms are deemed deviant and which are called divine? SOC 103 is not a conclusion, it is a reckoning. It is the moment when sociology becomes personal, political, and poetic. It is where myth meets method and music becomes memory. So take a breath, recall the rhythm. Now, let's spiral into resonance. The rhythm of society, SOC 103, race, class, and gender. The rhythm of society, myth, music, and identity. Chapter 21. Identity and belonging.